Hello and welcome back. And here is really the buzzword that is out there. And how do you do it? The buzzword is how do you start with why? People buy why you do, not what you do. And everywhere I've ever been, nobody tells you how to start with why. I like Simon Sinek. A lot of people credit him for his TED Talk, the Golden Circles. But really, the four learning styles of communicating your value are steeped in research from a guy named David Kolb, and how I learned it was from a lady named Bernice McCarthy. And then I've taken it to another level with all my studies in linguistics and all my practice in understanding sales. I've done probably, I'm guessing, 2,000 presentations in the last 20 years, stand-up presentations in front of audiences. I do about 120 speaking gigs a year. Some of them are full days and some of them are 1 hour, and I equate that to 120 times a year I'm speaking in some form or fashion in a venue. I've ran over 13,000 one-on-one sales meetings during my career over the last 20 years, and I've come up with these strategies. So one, they're based in David Kolb. Two, Bernice McCarthy. Three, I've heard Simon Sinek say he started this and everything, and I've gotten strategies from a guy named Igor Levachowski that works in here. And so let me explain the four learning styles and how they all come together, and then I'm going to share with you a little bit of how I put this together and utilize this in my presentations. But also, this is quite adapted to another level in something I call my 6-box matrix. So let's just kind of dive in and see what it is. So first, people need to know, why should I listen? Then they want to know, what do you want to tell me? 3, they want to know, how does it work? And 4, they want to know, what if I'm interested? What's next? Now, let me tell you a couple strategies on how I utilize these, and I utilize these all the time. I utilize this very concept to decrease my rent by $12,000. I use this very concept to get $1,000 off of a restaurant bill recently when I was doing a seminar. I use these strategies to get 20% on top of a gift certificate for my wife, and I'll share with you that story in a minute. I use this strategy to get $1,000 more on a trade-in for my car in the last week. I use this strategy constantly, each and every day, each and every second of my communication. And here it is. How do you start with why? Why adds reasons and relevance to any situation. You need reasons and relevance before you need to tell people what. And let me give you a simple, the first time I came across this and utilized this. So my wife was moving from California to Chicago. My wife thinks everything's better in California. I could say, hey, wow, that's a nice chair I have in my office here. And she would say, you should see the chairs in California. So very emotionally bought into California. And so she was moving to Chicago, and you know what? She likes to go to the spa. That's okay. I knew she was high maintenance. That's why I love her. But so here she was. She's looking for a spa in Chicago. And I mean go to the spa. She's not so much this way anymore with 2 babies. She's just too busy, let alone the money. But so she used to go to the spa literally every week or every other week. And so she's trying to find a spa in Chicago, and she couldn't find one that did the services that she liked, like the ones in California. Finally, she found the spa. And so she was going to the spa, and she went there a few times, and now here was her birthday, and I'm thinking of things to buy her for her birthday. And so naturally I said, you know what, I'm going to go to the spa and get her a gift certificate for her birthday. But I'm going to say, as I was going there, I said, I'm going to come up with an idea on how do I get some portion of that gift certificate for free, and here's what I came up with. So I went inside, and I introduced myself, and used matching and mirroring and a lot of other things that are beyond this training. And so state shift and things like that I do. But here's the thrust of starting with why. So when I went in there and I just said, hey, wow, this place is awesome. My name's Matt. What's your name? And the lady's name was, say, Sue. I said, Sue, wow, this place is awesome. I can really see how my wife loves this. My wife comes here every week. She just moved here from California. She's tried every spa in Chicago, and she just tells me how this is the greatest spa ever. You might know her name. Her name is Denise, and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of went on and I said, wow, she loves this place. I want to get her a gift certificate for her birthday for $200. Can you put a 20% extra on top of there? She'll tell everybody about your spa. Now, what do you think they said? Well, sure, we can give you 20% more. But if I would have just came in and said, hey, I want a $200 gift certificate and you put 20% on top, they would have looked at me like I had a third eye. But because I put all those reasons and relevance and put that story in front of it, I got their compliance. So just this week they were gonna I traded in a car, and my car is like 7 years old, the one I had, and I said I was trading it in. They wanted to give me $7,000 for the car, and I went to the sales guy. I said, go back to your manager and say this. I said, go in there and tell him, say, wow, this is one of the easiest sales I made. Matt came in, he said the car he wanted within 2 hours. He was texting me an hour later saying, hey, I want to trade in this car, how much do you need to give me? It just went so smooth. It was the easiest deal we ever had. Matt said because it was easy like that, is there any way you can give him $8,000 versus $7,000? He came back 5 minutes later and said, yeah, Matt, no problem, we'll give you $8,000. Now, you're saying, well, Matt, I don't know if that's the reason, but I will tell you that it's the plausibility of it. I can give you countless stories on how, by just giving reasons and relevance and putting some things on the front end, that I got the client, the person I was communicating with, to listen. Once I got them to listen, I told them what I wanted to tell them. And so really it's about how do you start with why. I can tell you countless stories, endless stories on this. I was selling houses in Kalamazoo. I was getting lowballed. My real estate agent said I should come down in price. I said, you know what, of course you do. It's not your money. I didn't say it like that, but really, all real estate agents, oh, you should come down in price, $5,000, $10,000. Because to them it's a percentage of $5,000 or $10,000. It's not the whole amount. To me, it's the whole amount, right? So their perception and projection on the situation is, oh, it's only $10,000, right? So he was telling me to come down. He's like, oh, my mentor broker said you should come down. I said, we should find a new mentor broker. No, I didn't say all that. But what I did is I said, let me sleep on it. So I came back the next day and I gave him all these reasons. I said, go back, tell him this, and this. And so he went back, told them all, and said, because of that, we're going to keep it our price. And needless to say, the other lawyer said, wow, we didn't realize all that. We will stay at the full price. So really you got to add reasons and relevance on the front end. So if you put it together in a simple 4-box quadrant, I'm going to give you some strategies here. Over a video, I certainly can explain this over a video with a flip chart or a whiteboard or something. That's not a problem. But I wanted to keep this really condensed for you. So I just want to give you some successful ideas and not really overwhelm you, but give you a ton of information. I think I've done this on the video training series. But really, here it is. You got to start with why. People need relevance and reasons to listen to you. Next, you move into what. What about it? What do you want to tell me? And I'm gonna visit each one of these quadrants in a minute. And then you go to how. How does it work? You got to let them try it out. What if I'm interested? Let them teach themselves and others. So how do you start with why? I start with why with a yes set. What are 3 reasons I should listen to you? I usually formulate these into questions. All right. So you need 3 questions that are relevant to the audience or to the person you're communicating with and presenting your product. It's more for a product pitch or some kind of presentation than it is for a normal day communication per se. But what are 3 reasons I should listen to you, and put them in a question format. When you get to what. Now what, in any sale, you need to shift perspective. If you don't shift your client's perspective, you will not make the sale. The client is usually okay with their current offering, the way they're currently doing things. But how do you kind of shift that perspective? And how do you shift that perspective? You have to reframe the way they currently think to frame up how you do business. So in the what section, you need to shift perspective. You need to add a reframe to your client. You need to reframe the way they think to frame up how you do it. Now in the how section, how do you do it? What are 3 hot cognitions? If you can take your product and chunk it up into 3 problem or goals, 3 problems that they solve or goals that they accomplish for your clients, how would you demonstrate that in 3 bullet points? And then you go to what if. What if I'm interested? What's next? In the what if, you run a contrast frame. How you close anything is with a contrast frame. You contrast your value with what you want them to do. So simply, here's my value. What are 3 things of value that you're going to give them, and what's 1 thing you're going to ask them to do? So you stack your value and ask them to do something. Ask them to buy, ask them to sign on the dotted line, ask them to give them your credit card, ask them to meet with you another time. Whatever it is that you want them to do, you have to stack your value and then ask them what you want them to do. So great, Mr. and Mrs. Klein, I'm selling cell phones. You're going to get a great new cell phone today. You're getting a warranty for 3 years on it. This cell phone's it's indestructible. All we need is your credit card for you to get started today. Let's get that out. So it's called a contrast frame. You contrast the value with what you're asking them to do. Now, I kind of going through here, not fast, but it wasn't designed to kind of draw this out and share with you how to deconstruct it, but I will explain to you verbally how I deconstruct this right now for you. So what's the clearest thing that you know how to do is how you do your product. You know your clients, how your company manufactures your product. So what are 3 things that are really significant about how you manufacture your product? And 3 things. And when you think about the X factor, right? So when you think of your company and your competing company, 80% of you versus them is the same, but each company, them and you, have an X factor. What are your 3 X factors and how you manufacture your product? Once you figure out the 3 X factors and how you manufacture your product, go over to the what. What are 3 things that you can teach them, that you can tell them, that you can shift their perspective to reframe, to frame up how you do it? So each one of your 3 hot cognitions of how you manufacture your product, what are 3 supporting stories, data points, third-party research that you can tell that support each one of those three hot cognitions of how you manufacture your product? Now you have those 3 things that are all designed to shift perspective of your client, to reframe how they think, to frame up how you manufacture your product. When you have those 3 whats, when you have those 3 ideas, I want you to think about each one of those ideas individually. Say the first idea, this is important because, and you'll get an answer in your mind. And you want to come to an answer that seeks relevance and adds relevance and adds reasons that people should listen to you, because you're starting to build the why. So in each one of those 3 things of your what, you say this is important because. And if you don't get something emotionally evoking, then you say, well, this is important because. It's a linguistic technique to help open the mind and get under the surface area of the mind. So you're going to come to emotionally evoking ideas. You do that for each one of your what topics. And once you get to the underlying version of why it's important to your client, then that's your why. You take those 3 and turn it into 3 questions that you're going to ask. 3 questions that people are going to buy in. And you develop your yes set for your why. So again, start with the how. What are 3 things, 3 X factors of your product? What are 3 things that you could say in the what to reframe, to frame up how you do it? Those 3 things in the what, why are those important to your client? And then that becomes your why, which is your yes set. Now, again, so you start with why, you deliver why, what, how, what if, but you deconstruct it how, what, why. Hopefully that makes sense in this quick video. But ultimately, start with why. Put the reasons in front of what you want, and you'll get more compliance. You'll have more success in all your negotiations, whether you're negotiating a table at a restaurant. And I'll close you out with one idea on how I got a table at a restaurant. So I was in Columbus, Ohio. I was training a financial team, and I went to dinner with them. And as I was going to dinner, they went up to the hostess without me, and the hostess said there's an hour wait for the table. They came back like betas and said, hey, we got to wait an hour. I went over there and said, no, alphas don't wait an hour. Just kidding, but just used a metaphor from earlier. But I said, okay, how do I go over there and how do I get this table? So I was prepared. I'm not going to lie. I like capitalism. I was prepared to give them $20. I wanted to get the table. But what I did is I went up there and I just started putting some relevance in front of it. I said, hey, I'm in town from Chicago. How you doing? I introduced myself. My name's Matt. Oh, your name's Sarah. I'm in town from Chicago. I heard your restaurant's the greatest restaurant. Wow, you guys are jammed. It's Tuesday night. You guys must be as awesome as everybody told me. I started asking her some other questions. Got on her side, told some stories with her. And I said, you know what? I was wondering if you could help me out. Can we get the next table, or how can we get the next table? I really, really can't wait an hour. And after building all that rapport, giving her reasons why on the front end, needs to say, we got the next table, and I did not have to part with my $20.